What is up, my brothers and sisters, my agents of respect? It's your boy Trey Johnson back with another episode of the No Disrespect But podcast. Before we get started, make sure y'all like and subscribe to the channel. Always feel free to comment. Just make sure you keep those comments respectful. And if you're interested in supporting your favorite podcaster, yours truly, the link to do so will be in the episode description. Now, look, if y'all hear some background noise, my neighbors decided, it's 5 o'clock on a Friday. They want to cut their grass right now. Well, I guess it's starting to get a little cool as opposed to cutting it tomorrow morning, but it is what it is. So if y'all get that background noise, blame them, not me. But y'all know how I feel about my New Orleans Saints, man. Y'all know I feel that they are God's chosen franchise, blessed by His Holiness the Pope, not just twice at this point, but three times blessed by His Holiness the Pope. And look, it's been a tough few years without Drew Brees. Like, that's just the truth of the matter. It's been tough without him. He's the greatest quarterback that ever played for our team, arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. When you put his stats above everybody else's, obviously the ring argument, you know, clouds people's judgment of just how dominant he was. But nevertheless, I miss you, Drew. I wish we could have sent you out with a ring. But since he's been gone, it's been hell for the New Orleans Saints. And I get it. I mean, whether it's injuries, especially to the quarterback position, and you have Sean Payton leaves, and now you have Dennis Allen, and maybe he's not the leader of men as a whole that we've seen him be with his defensive unit. Obviously, now without a great offensive coach or a great coach and a great quarterback, a lot of eyes are on the front office and maybe their ineptitude. If you kind of look at the Drew Brees era, there was a lot of ineptitude with the front office, but he was so good and so phenomenal that he kind of hid a lot of the issues within the front office. And so a lot of these things are coming to light. And when it happens, look, obviously your fan base is pissed off about it. But one of the unfortunate consequences of not being a good team, right, is that opposing fan bases and opposing players typically have something to say. And are they right sometimes? Sure. But I'm one of those people that you got to be a certain type of player on a certain type of team with a certain type of cachet to talk trash about mine. And I really won't let you slide with talking trash anyway. But at the very least, you better have some credentials on your side before you come for God's chosen franchise. And unfortunately, a member of the Detroit Lions forgot that he plays for the Detroit Lions. That being the sun god Amon-Ra St. Brown, USC's finest. On a podcast that he has with his brothers, he's talking to his older brother, Equinemius St. Brown, who currently plays for the New Orleans Saints. Actually, wasn't someone I had favored to make the roster. But you know what, EQ? I'm supporting you right now because when we do some shit this year, I want you to go back on that podcast and tell your little brother, shut the hell up. We proved you wrong, nigga. Like that's kind of where I am with this right now. So I hope EQ does enough in training camp and in the preseason so he can stay a Saint and he can stick it to his brother when the season's over. And look, I'm right. He ain't no slouch. He top 10 wide receiver in the league, right? Kind of a slot merchant, 47% of his time in the slot, but hey, you got to get it how you live. If you can dominate in the air, you dominate. Over 300 catches in his career since he was drafted in 2021, over 3,500 yards, 21 receiving touchdowns in his career. So not a slot, not a snob whatsoever. Just signed a contract extension recently in the offseason. So shout out to him for that. But in the podcast, he talking about his brother and they talking about their respective teams. And he's like, when it comes to the Saints, he's like, nobody in your effing locker room believes y'all are a Super Bowl team and win a Super Bowl. And I'm kind of paraphrasing a little bit. And is he wrong? Not necessarily. But you had a little bit too much dip on your chip and you had a little bit too much bass in your voice, sir, for a member of the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions that were essentially irrelevant for a whole 30-year period when we're talking about a title contender, a team that had missed the playoffs, the last 10 years until last season, a team that went winless. My team never did that. We sucked. We wore bags over our head, but shit, we gave our fans a win at the very least. Y'all had a winless season. That's your franchise. So, and last time I checked, the Super Bowl trophy case was bare. But anyways, I digress. But like I said, he had a little bit of bass in his voice. And so I got you thinking, look, I already feel like, I mean, look, the Saints have done better than the Detroit Lions historically, especially, culminating in a championship, which the Detroit Lions do not have. Um, I would say the New Orleans Saints did a good job of making Hall of Fame careers where the Detroit Lions ruined them. Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson, Matt Stafford. So, and like I said, I could have went on and on about the history historically from beginning to end, but I decided, you know what? Amon-Ra wasn't around for that. It's not fair, right? To utilize him and compare and utilize things that happened before his tenure in a Detroit Lions jersey and apply that to him. That's sometimes one of my biggest pet peeves, but because people do that with, Alabama quarterbacks and Duke players and all these types of things. So I say, you know what? I'm going to judge based on what has happened since Amon-Ra has been in the NFL with Detroit Lions. And I will start with what the Detroit Lions have accomplished since 2021 when he was drafted. They have won 24 games with 26 losses. I think one of their games got canceled during one of the COVID years. 24 wins, 26 losses, and 50 contests. In that same span of time, they've had the same head coach, Dan Campbell. They've had the same quarterback, Jared Goff. 2021, they were 25th in points, 22nd in yards. The year after that, vastly improved, 5th in points, 4th in yards. And then this past season, 5th in points, 3rd in yards. Made it to the playoffs last year after 2021 were 3-13, were 9-8 in 2022, and then they made the playoffs with a 12-5 record last year. Got 2 playoff wins, and honestly probably should have represented the NFC in the Super Bowl, but they blew a double-digit lead to the San Francisco 49ers, and murder she wrote. Didn't make it to the Super Bowl, but they had, their moral victory of nobody believes in the Detroit Lions. They made it to the NFC Championship game. Yay, so much to think about and so much they'll accomplish in the next season, right? Okay. So keep in mind, let me reread those numbers. 24 wins, 26 losses, same head coach, same quarterback. And 2 of the 3 years, one of the better offenses in the league. And I only use offensive stats because it's an offensive player that made it. Ain't nobody from the defense was talking shit. It was an offensive player. So last two of the last 3 years, one of the better offenses in the league. 2 playoff wins. In that same span of time, since 2021, Saints have 25 wins and 26 losses. Same amount of losses, 1 more win. But haven't had the luxury of the quarterback position. They've had 6 different starting quarterbacks, or 6 different quarterbacks start a game for them in that span of time. That being Jameis Winston, Trevor Siemian, Ian Book, Andy Dalton, Derek Carr, and I forgot the 6th guy. And Taysom Hill. Sorry, Taysom. Well, how could I forget you? 6 starting quarterbacks in that same span of time. And obviously, Dennis Allen, head coach, for 2 of those 3 years as well. 19th in points in 2021, 28th in yards, 2022, 22nd in points, 19th in yards, 2023, 9th in points, 14th in yards. So little Derek, I guess, did something right. No playoffs in that team. And they were 7-10, 8-9. I think 9-8 is what it ends up being. Has been the records the past 3 years. And you say, Trey, I hear you, but you kind of making it seem like Detroit has been, Detroit been kicking the Saints' ass, but not necessarily. And when I mention all these things in comparison between Detroit and the Saints, and I say, hey, Amon-Ra, Sun God, who are you to talk? Who are you to talk about what the expectations are in the New Orleans Saints locker room when in your best years, right? You're still on par with the New Orleans Saints in their worst years. The New Orleans Saints are in the dark ages. They've had 6 different starting quarterbacks. They've had 2 different head coaches, one who's a career loser, right? And from a win-loss standpoint, they are still on par with you. Congratulations, you went 12-5 last year. You got to the playoff spot. You won 2 games. But guess what? When shit hit the fan and you had to press on and have a shot at Super Bowl, you shit the bed. You had an opportunity to get Super Bowl, first time in your franchise's history, and you failed. So guess what? Not only haven't you won a Super Bowl, you haven't been to one yet as a franchise. So I get it, brotherly rivalries and everything like that, and you have a chance to stick it to your brother. But at the end of the day, your brother is a part of a franchise that has accomplished more than yours and has been on par with yours outside of a playoff appearance over the past 3 years since you've been in the league. So I think you need to lower the tone a little bit, take that bass out your voice, because until y'all actually do something like make it to the Super Bowl, win one, actually be a consistent winning team, like you just made the playoffs for the first time in the 3 years you've been in the league. Like, let's not act like y'all have been in the playoffs like clockwork. Like, y'all ain't the San Francisco 49ers. Hell, y'all not the Green Bay Packers or the Minnesota Vikings. Speaking of the Green Bay Packers, guess what? There's a guy named Jordan Love who, yeah, you got the best of him early on in his career, making his first few starts in the league. But guess what? When he got his bearings about him, Thanksgiving, I remember him whooping y'all's ass in your spot on your home field. So this talk as if shit about to be easy for y'all, yeah. There's a team in Green Bay that also made the playoffs last year that could be ready to make some noise this year and let you know that, hey, they're the ones that run that division. They run the North. Hey, Minnesota, who knows? If Kirk Cousins doesn't get hurt, they're vying for a playoff spot. You might not even be the 12-5 team that you ended up being. And yeah, they have a rookie quarterback in J.J. McCarthy. They have a journeyman at this point in Sam Darnold, but they still have Justin Jefferson. They still have a good run game, still good offensive line, still one of the best defensive minds. Brian Flores calling their defense. So you talking a lot of noise for somebody that doesn't even have their division shirt up. Sir, may I remind you that last year was the first time you won a division in a long time. Like, I think it was the first time y'all won a division since you were in the NFC Central. Sir, you got to relax. You got too much dip on your chip. And especially if you coming for God's chosen franchise now. And look, I don't know if your brother's going to make the team, but by God, he's on the team now. So I will defend him until I don't have to defend him anymore. And so Equinemius, I think that's how you pronounce the name. I'm sorry if I butchered it. Man, you ball the hell out. You make sure you get on this roster because I want you to be a part of this. Because it won't sting the Saints. Because guess what? I feel like the Saints are going to stick it to the Detroit Lions. I think we're going to have a better year in terms of us winning our division, having a chance at a playoff spot. I think Green Bay is going to win the division in the NFC North. So I want you to be a part of it because I'm still going to stick it to your brother regardless, whether you're on the team or not. But I think it might be just a little bit sweeter that not only will I do it, I think you have an opportunity to do it. And all that little energy that he was bringing to you, the little brother syndrome, all that type of stuff, you get to be big brother again. Because he got his deal, he got his money, he been having a better career so far. You start to puff out your chest, right? Well, guess what? We about to knock little brother down. And that's why it's so important that you're on the team. I know you had to deal with Chicago Bears. Like, look, bro, I get it. They're worse than the Detroit Lions. In the past few years, even though they still have some championships, some of the Detroit Lions don't have, probably never will have in a very long time. I don't think they're gonna have it in Amon-Ra's time. I'll tell you that right now. But I'm with you. I'm with you, EQ. You got Who That Nation behind you now, bro. We ain't gonna let, I don't care if that's your blood. We ain't gonna let people talk to you like that. If they talk about you and talk about the team, they're talking about us. And so, Sun God, you done made an enemy out of me. You done made an enemy out of me. Now, I ain't like Stephen A. Smith, I ain't that important to make stuff happen, or at least he likes to think he can make stuff happen. Talk about don't make an enemy out of me. I ain't that. But I am a rabid fan of Who That Nation, baby. And you have gotten into my crosshairs. So look, I'm pretty sure you're gonna play well. You typically been playing well, but it ain't about you as an individual. But by God, you and your Detroit Lions better not have been a Cinderella of 1 year wonder. Cause ooh, you think you think it's getting hot in the kitchen now. You just wait until I truly have some ammunition to start cooking. Because if y'all are a 1 year wonder, a Cinderella story in God's chosen franchise, my New Orleans Saints somehow get into the playoffs. And whether we do damage or not, nigga, I don't give a damn. If we get to a place that you are not, you're gonna hear from me. And you're gonna hear from your big brother. And guess what? You're gonna have to take it. So that's in your future. That's in your future. And you started this. You took a fan base that was somewhat divided going into this year. And I think you might have just united us under one front. I don't know if we're going to have a good season. I don't know if we're going to make the playoffs. I hope we do. I feel we will. But as long as we are better than you, like if we don't make the playoffs and y'all do, I will be pissed. I just want us to be better than your Detroit Lions. And Detroit Lions fans, this ain't about y'all. Y'all have been a respectful group. I mean, y'all show nothing but love. Uh, old lady that do all the twerking after the Detroit Lions win. That's why y'all won so many games. I think the world just wanted to see that every week, right? Shout out to the city of Detroit, Motor City, baby. Big Sean, stand up. C. Webb, Jalen Rose, Fab Five, baby, stand up. This ain't about y'all, okay? But one of your guys started running his mouth. And if you're gonna run your mouth, you better back it up. Like, look, if y'all had made it two years in a row or something like that, maybe you can start to talk that talk. But sir, look, the numbers don't lie, sir. Yeah, you're getting the offensive rankings and ranked in the league and all that stuff. But guess what? Who's come to shove? Y'all ain't no better than us. You're not. You didn't just jump a tier. You're still in the same tier. Probably be a little step above in that same tier, but you're still here with us. Dan Campbell's still the guy that's going to gamble his team's chances away. Jared Goff is still a guy that, by all means, yes, he's got an extension. He's been playing fairly well, but he's still just a guy. Like y'all haven't established yourselves as some perimeter, like you haven't established yourselves as a perimeter divisional champion yet. This is your first one since you joined the NFC North, people. And now you want to talk and flap your gums like you are an NFC powerhouse? Okay. I will remember. I will remember the conversation you had with your brother. I will remember the conversation we're having today. And come the end of the year, we can have it. We can talk again. And you are more than welcome on the No Disrespect But podcast. I wouldn't mind being a guest on yours since you're more famous than me. But either way, and especially EQ, if you make the team, brother, I don't care if you on the practice squad. You got to make a visit to the No Disrespect But podcast so we can clown your brother together. Okay? Who that, baby? Anyways, there's anything that I say to offend anybody, that's a good thing. But I also don't care, especially if you're Amon-Ra St. Brown right now. But it's an opportunity for me to learn. It's an opportunity for you to teach me, okay? All I ask, as maybe this as disrespectful as I've been today to Amon-Ra St. Brown, top 10 talent in the league, I ask, ask when you're teaching me to keep it respectful. Peace.